I found this sketchbook at a Michael's. It's like one of these. It's called like Denick, and if you buy the sketchbook, like they give the proceeds to build schools. So I bought it. It had pretty good paper, and this was like in the beginning of the COVID crisis quarantine. So my concentration for the graphic novel that I was supposed to be working on was really short. I could not get into it. I'm still having trouble getting into it. But I decided that in order to get out my creative energy, I would buy a sketchbook and then just write about my own life, like just memories from my own life. And one of the stories that I wanted to tell for a while that I thought I'll just spend the quarantine doing that was the story of the first apartment I had and my first roommate. His name is Pat. In that era of when I was trying to be a painter, like I thought I was going to be a fine artist, and just the foibles that went along with that. So yeah, because I couldn't concentrate on the graphic novel I was supposed to be working on because it required a lot of research and a lot of like tunneling in and things, and I couldn't do that. I was too distracted, but I could reflect upon my own life and just draw stuff directly from that instead. And so that's how I spent quarantine, was doing this book. So the comic, this is just an idea that I haven't used yet. The idea was to call it For Art's Sake, and to try and do a page every day from quarantine that would form a story about this. So I only worked on this side of the paper, of the sketchbook, but I would, so here's how I work. Okay, so I go, okay, so like, this happens, and then the next page, this will happen, and then the next page, this will happen. But then as I'm going through and I'm rereading it, I have this other side of the page to add more art or more story to help with the pacing for what I've already written, because pacing is a really big part of being a cartoonist and writing stories and comics. So I always left this side empty just in case I needed to insert something else to help the pacing of the story. So you'll see where I felt that I've needed that in here, this page here, which follows me at a bookstore where I was working at Barnes & Noble and looking at art books and kind of wishing I was a part of that world. And when I went back and reread what I had done, I realized I needed some page that kind of inserted myself into that world that I was dreaming about. So there's young Noah Van Sciver as Vincent Van Gogh. So yeah, I was skateboarding a lot around this era, and I get into that stuff. This was kind of the time period where I quit skating. So I was going in and I realized I kind of needed to just show more about what my life was like how I spent my teens, and why skateboarding was important to me, and the kind of guy that I was, the kind of guys I hung out with. So that's what this page represents, and there's a couple more like that in here. Breaking into movie theaters, stealing their seats, things like that, all the craziness we got into. I worked at the Barnes & Noble Cafe. So yeah, more about skateboarding and my first roommate. Page I didn't wind up using. So I just finished this recently. It wound up being 52 pages long. This sketchbook was only about 84. I didn't use that page. That page is cut out. The sketchbook is about 84 or 80. I can't remember. 80 something pages long. It's pretty short, but it has really good thick paper. So then I self-published it just like this week as this. This is how it wound up as a mini comic. You can see adding the tones. There's me at the actual time of these events. It's kind of a pretentious young man. And yeah, so put this together, self-published it. I posted it on Facebook for sale for anybody who was interested. I was just like, yeah, PayPal me $10 plus shipping, and I'll mail it out to you. So lately I've been burning through orders of this comic. And it was kind of a nice little experiment and a nice thing to do during quarantine, while we're all just home. So I just thought I would show you. what this is all about for art's sake. It wound up being 52 pages long. Nice fat mini comic that I got out of it, you know. Pretty good. Anyway, thanks for watching this. Have a good day.